We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Lindsay Patterson, Mike Santagata. Mike, what's up?
Um, so not watching movie because I haven't been to the movie theater in a while, but I have been watching Winning Time on Max. It's no longer HBO Max. It's it's like a dramatization of the '80s Lakers. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I need to
Uh,
watch it.
yeah, John C. Riley plays from Step Brothers and Talladega Nights. He plays the owner, Jerry Buss. Drew me in immediately because I mean it's not like a common, not like one of his comedic roles. There is comedy into it, but it's like, oh, he's doing a really good job. And then I felt like everybody they cast in this just is more so almost like this guy looks a lot like Magic Johnson. He's doing really good, so I'm into it. But Jason Segel's in it as one of the coaches, and Adrian Brody plays Pat Riley. It's a great show. It's a great show.
All right. Well, I'll
Oh,
have to. I'll have
Spencer
to.
says Jerry West is the best. Yeah, either him or Pat Riley this season. I thought he's been really good. Anyway, that was producer Spencer. Uh, I'm
You,
guessing he's a fan.
there's another good movie that's coming out soon, and the NFL is really leaning into it. It's the script of the NFL
Oh,
season that's coming out. I thought it was actually really funny today. They had Jamar Chase sit down and he was guessing what the script in chapter one would be for the 2023 season. The Bengals put out a social media video and just I didn't realize that Jordan Battle was the comedian of the team, but it felt like it was pretty funny. Orlando Brown Jr. going around doing a lot of the social media interviews, and he had asked some of the players, "Do you think the NFL is scripted?" A lot of them were like, "Not going to say anything." I think they even talked to Logan Wilson, and he said no right away. And it was just kind of funny watching that social media video. But Jordan Battle looked at him after he put the mic in his face, and he goes, "Is your life scripted?" And everyone kind of joked a little bit about the script last year with the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. So I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting down to the final part of preseason. Joe Burrow in attendance last night at the FC Cincinnati game. Again, we're recording this on a Thursday. He's with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
surprising one too. Did you see Carlos Dunlap was there?
I saw Carlos Dunlap trying to sneak into those photos.
He was
When
with them. He was with them. What do you mean?
I saw him back there kind of leaning into the photos of all of the
You
players
can't really
there.
hide.
I mean, I could see where he's like, hey guys, remember me? I was a former teammate of the Cincinnati Bengals. But yeah, I thought it was cool to see those guys there. Obviously, when Messi's in town, you're gonna see the stars of Cincinnati showing up on the sideline. Sam Hubbard was there too. Thought it was pretty cool to just see. Looks like Joe Burrow walking just fine. I'm sure a lot of people were looking at the video saying, all right, what's Joe looking like? When's Joe's return? Look, this is the last week. Zach Taylor talked to the media today, and he pretty much said training camp has been done for the team since Tuesday. So Thursday is technically the last day of practice. They get a light practice in. It's like 100 degrees in Cincinnati, and I'm not exaggerating right now. So they practice inside the bubble. It was only 75 minutes. They're going to travel tomorrow. They play Washington. And Zach even said that not the whole team, like a lot of guys are going to be left behind in Cincinnati. I expect Joe Burrow to not make the trip to FedEx Field, and that is totally fine. Leave the other guys behind. You get your bubble roster spots. Some of the younger guys, the rookies, you're going to see on Saturday, but it's mostly just going to be about that for their third preseason game. While the rest of them get about 2 weeks out from the regular season, and to be determined if Joe Burrow is back returning to practice next week, all eyes will be on practice as they're 2 weeks out, starting on starting on Sunday actually, but practice again on Monday. What are you looking forward to in this last preseason game?
Uh, Travion Williams isn't playing. That's what I was really looking forward to, is trying to see him pass block. But I guess we just have to believe. 12 pass block snaps in his career, and all the indications are, yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy for that role. Did he do it last year? No. He's the guy. Yeah, there's that. I'm looking forward to seeing Yosivash and Charlie Jones.
Mhm.
That's a big one. The roster battle of Dominique Davis and Jay Tufele, another one to look for. Miles Murphy, hopefully going to get some snaps in this one because he missed the Atlanta game. DJ Turner, he'll be fun to watch. Jordan Battle, Tyson Anderson, plenty of guys on the defense. I feel like are going to be fun watches. On the offense, there is the 3-person battle at tackle. I don't know how many of those they keep between Adeniji, Carmen, and Smith. So looking at that, see if any tight end makes an impact. They really haven't to me so far. There's flashes of fine, but nothing that makes you really want one of the tight ends. Like, oh, we got to keep him over Mitch Wilcox. That's probably. I'm hoping Chase Brown gets some blocking in this game as well. Man, I feel like the blocking's been bad in general in the preseason. I don't think anybody's gotten good blocking, but I do feel I don't have any stats to back this up other than just my eyes. I feel like Chase Brown has gotten the worst blocking out of any of the backs, and I'd like to see him get an opportunity there. So, anybody I missed that you're looking to see? You're into the Trey Hill, Max Sharping battle?
Oh, goodness. But you know what? Here's the thing. We've mostly just watched a lot of backups in the last 3 preseason games. I know that they played their starters in the first or in the second one. And then we obviously saw Dax Hill in the first one. And maybe I'm just being optimistic because I really like the 2023 draft class. But overall, doesn't it feel a little different from those preseason game number? I know they're only playing 3 over the last few years, but you remember that 4th preseason game when they normally played the Indianapolis Colts, and it was just like at the back end of the roster. It didn't feel like a whole lot of roster battles because the talent really wasn't even on the starting roster. And now you have all of this talent on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Starters aren't traveling to Washington, but at the same time, a lot of these younger guys are fun to watch, and what that's going to look like, where they're going to land. I think we can all agree that out of all the preseason games, the first 2, Yoshi has been one of the most exciting players, and I can't wait to see him again on Saturday. I think that's going to be fun. And Charlie Jones too. I still think he has more to show out there because his first one was a little disappointing, showed up a little more in game 2. What are you going to see out of that? I think you bring up a great point with Chase Brown because we still don't know. It feels like a big question mark. Just with the running back room alone, I think Chris Evans, and look, I try not to buy too much into hype in preseason or even training camp, but I feel like maybe he saved himself a job, and maybe I'm going to be completely wrong next week and they cut him. But look, when your running back room is still a little bit unknown, and maybe the Cincinnati Bengals and the coaching staff know more, and I'm not counting about Joe Mixon. I don't want to get into that topic. I'm talking about the other players on the roster, RB2, RB3, what that does look like, because it felt like Travion Williams. I want to see more from Travion. I believe they believe in Travion, but what number is he? And is Chase Brown just going to be a little bit of a project his rookie year? What are the expectations for that? So that's what I'm looking forward to in this game 3. And I think they do have some decisions to make. I mean, some hard decisions to make on the offensive line. I still think it's a question mark with Jackson Carman, but I still think they keep him as left tackle depth, to be completely honest with you.
Based on the history.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. But I still feel like there's a lot of exciting guys to watch on Saturday, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not super excited. I just won't be there till the regular season. Like regular season game 1, I'll be amped for, but I don't know. Before this, I didn't even watch the preseason games. Now I'm watching and rewatching and everything else because part of the job. And like I'm enjoying it, but growing up as a Bengals fan, I just kind of skip this for the most part. Like some people would have some takes, and I just go, huh. It's like we'll see in the regular season. It's a lot of stuff that doesn't really matter too much right now. But yeah, Yossi Voss, he's been the most exciting player all preseason. I think DJ Turner has also been really exciting. And obviously Tyson Anderson had a 2 interception game. It'll be interesting to see which guys, step up and really show this game that they deserve that roster spot. I feel like, we didn't even talk about it. how excited, since we didn't even talk about it, how excited are you to figure out who this backup quarterback is going to be?
Dude, I'm so over it. I'm so
Yeah.
I'm so over watching Jake Browning and Trevor Siemian play. I really am. I want Joe Burrow back out there. Even when it comes to practice tape, get Joe Burrow back out there. And I know they're being extremely smart and cautious with Joe, and I want them to be, because at the end of the day, I want this guy to last the whole regular season. And he's used to not playing in preseason and getting most of the training camp off rehabbing or coming back from an injury. So I'm totally fine with that. But I am so over this backup quarterback play. It isn't good. What do you think about Reed? He's going to get some snaps on in Game 3. Do you think he has any shot at making maybe the practice squad or something?
Well, a shot at making the practice squad, sure. I don't know. He's not in the competition. I don't think he would. Even if he plays really well, I don't think he's in the competition because I mean, if you're the fourth string quarterback and they're not even giving you snaps in the other preseason games,
Oh,
I don't know.
that's true. Well, it's funny about the quarterback conversation because we actually talked about it on Tuesday. Brandon Allen might be staying in with the Niners.
Yeah, the Trey Lance stuff. I don't know if anybody wants to trade for him though, because he comes with $9 million cap hit is what he carries for the Niners, and it costs $20 million to cut him. So they're not going to do that. I mean, I don't think they would.
No, they're going to trade him.
If they can, if anybody wants him.
That's true. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of tape out there, so it's extreme. It's just, what were the 49ers thinking? I mean, I know everybody wants to hit and get that Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes type in the first round, and I'm just grateful that the 49ers didn't take Jamar Chase.
Well, they traded up. They were never taking.
They weren't going to take a wide receiver. But look, right now, Jamar Chase, he might be worth a couple first rounders for a lot of NFL regulars.
Yeah, sure, but I'll just say, you trade up your future. You're doing that for a quarterback, yeah. And 100. They knew who was going to go. They knew that Zach Wilson was 2, Trevor Lawrence was 1, and then it was just a question of, are they going Fields? Are they going? Well, the real question, I guess, was Mac Jones or Trey Lance, because it sounds like, I'm not super informed, but it seemed like front office wanted Lance and Shanahan kind of wanted Jones, but I don't know anything. Would that
make a huge difference if they had Mac Jones?
I don't know. I feel like Shanahan just wants a guy that's going to follow, that he's going to do what's asked. And if you do that, you're going to be really good. Just like, Jimmy G's been good, and whoever they throw in there has been at least fine. Nick Mullins and all those guys. So I think he kind of wants a guy that just kind of like runs the offense.
Sure.
But I also think that the front office was like, we just lost. That was the year they lost to Patrick Mahomes in the Super, or 2 years after, year after, I can't even remember. But I'm sure that they watched themselves lose to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl or Tom Brady in the championship game or something, and just went like, we need a quarterback like that. So I don't know. It's interesting. Trey Lance, like, has to be one of the bigger NFL busts, but he almost doesn't get talked about it because he never played.
Yeah, nobody knows what he can be. I mean, I don't want to be too down on him because we still don't know. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I thought for sure we had that conversation. Well, maybe Brandon Allen will get cut. Don't come to Cincinnati, be at the backup. And you know how I feel about the backup quarterback conversation. Look, as long as Joe Burrow's out there, I could care less who the backup quarterback is. As long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy through regular season, that's the only thing that matters to me. And I just don't care about backup quarterback play. I know it's been the topic of conversation. It's easy to point at that with the Cincinnati Bengals, but you look around the league, I want everybody to name, besides Cleveland, I think everybody knows Cleveland because their backup quarterback played, majority of the preseason, getting to watch him and kind of he looked a little better than their current starter. But other teams, I don't think you can name a lot of backup quarterbacks on a lot of rosters. I mean,
I probably could, but I'm a degenerate.
You are.
No, I am. It's fine. I mean, we should all be able to name Carolina with Andy Dalton.
And see, here's the thing. There was talk. Everyone's like, well, what about Andy Dalton if he gets cut from the Panthers?
He's not getting cut.
No, Andy Dalton isn't coming back to Cincinnati. It is over. It's over.
There's a lot wrong. Like, one, they're not cutting him, I don't think. And then 2, he's not coming back. If he is cut, if he gets cut, he's going to go to like see San Francisco or somewhere that feels like an open quarterback job. He's going to go try to compete for that, not go back up
It's
Joe
over.
Burrow.
It's over.
Yeah,
It's over.
it's
It's been
over.
over. It's actually been over since the 2019 benching on his birthday. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, other than that, other than the quarterback play, which will probably be pretty bad to watch because it is going to be
But
the
hopefully
fourth string.
good. Hopefully
Hopefully
good.
good. Hopefully he has a great night because either he's gonna get a practice squad somewhere, or who knows what'll happen to his future. But it's currently the fourth string quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. Getting to watch him on Saturday, but I'm just ready for the clock to hit zero. Just get the clock to zero. Let's move on. Let's get into regular season talk. Kind of get that break before the week before Cleveland, and it just feels like it's going to be a busy. I keep saying it, that contract extension news, feeling like it's right around the corner. The Paycor Stadium currently lit up as green, but also have to remember that it's the jungle and the jungle is green. So maybe that has nothing to do with the green lights around Paycor all week this week. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that and the extension talk if it happens before Joe gets back on the field. But it just feels like Joe's return could be any day now, and they'll return to the practice field next week. So we'll see what that looks like if Joe's back out there, and hopefully it's no longer 100 degrees in Cincinnati and cooling off a little bit before he hits the practice field again. But any other thoughts on preseason?
No, I think we covered all of them for this
I
game. I'll
think
be honest.
I think we stretched it as much as we could when it comes to preseason football. We got it. We got to the finish line because soon we can talk about regular season roster, what that looks like, and expectations and predictions. So I can't wait to get to that. But next, we're going to get to all of your Twitter questions. Thank you so much for sending them on Twitter. You can follow Bengals_Sands. You can follow me at LNDS Patterson. We'll be back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Some double header mailbags. Thank you so much for sending them. We'll go ahead and get to some of your Twitter questions that you're throwing out there right now. If the draft was tomorrow, which position would Cincinnati target?
Oh man, they're. I don't see them as a team that targets one position. I don't think they went into the draft thinking we got to get one of these edge guys. Like, if a guy fell to them, if they wanted more, they probably would have taken him. And just like last year, I don't think they were going, we need a safety in round one. Anyway, though, you have to think right tackle is a position they'll look at. I think defensive tackle is something they'll look at. Tight end, if that Brock Bowers guy falls. Running back, although I hear nothing about these running backs being first-round talents or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Center, technically. Keep forgetting.
I definitely agree. I think it's going to be right tackle. I think you look anywhere on the offensive line because you're going to want to stay going cheap on that side of the ball if you can fit in that position. And everybody knows the price tag on an offensive lineman. And, you hope Orlando Brown works out at left tackle. You're still young at Cordell Volson, depending on how this season goes. Ted Karras for one more year, but I do think it's smart to look at the center position, and then you have Alex Kappa on the other side. So yeah, hitting on a right tackle would be absolutely huge for this team. I feel good about receivers because I've said it before on this podcast. If T. Higgins doesn't get an extension this offseason, I still feel like they franchise him and they have control over him for another year. They'd franchise him for pretty much maybe a little more than what they were going to pay him for. What do you think?
Oh, the light bulb moment did just go, though. Not a wide receiver to take over for T. Higgins next year, but if they don't feel good enough about Charlie Jones, they can go receiver for a guy that could fill in for Tyler Boyd next year.
True. And I trust this team. I do. I trust. We look at the resume of wide receivers, what they've hit more than they've missed. And, if they feel like another playmaker is there, then they're like, okay, hey, the luxury of going first or second round again, and hopefully the Cincinnati Bengals are picking last in every round, that you can do that if the guy is there, if your playmaker is there. So yeah, to be determined on what that looks like. I'm still not giving up on Charlie Jones though.
Me either. No, I mean, it's only been 2 preseason games. Who cares? And the second one, he looked good.
Yeah, I want to see him on Saturday. We'll see him what he looks like. How much, will we see of Charlie Jones? What does it look like when he's on this offense? Is it more of a special teams guy? Does he get some reps with the starters at some point in regular season? I don't know. We'll see what happens. And but yeah, I'm still optimistic on what we're going to see out of him. But it is a huge year for him too, because you still want him to get reps out there, especially if he's going to be replacing a guy like Tyler Boyd, who's still a huge part of this offense. And it's just like I said, I get so bummed out thinking about the last of Tyler Boyd in Cincinnati. Hopefully they can go out and get the Lombardi with him here for one more season. Let's get to another question over there in the Twitter mailbag. Who wins the wide receiver 4 job between Yoshi, Charlie Jones, or Trent Irwin? I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but with some more preseason games, are you feeling any different?
It's always been Trent Irwin, and it was just off-season hype that made it one of the rookies. Irwin was good last year. I mean, we all have the sour taste in the mouth from the AFC Championship game. He's not really a slot guy, so that he didn't step into there and do well. This is why I also don't love doing wide receiver 4. I like thinking backup outside and backup inside, and Irwin is definitely the backup outside. I don't know if Charlie Jones has done enough for backup inside with the one good game, one bad game. I think this could be a little bit of a show for that, this game coming up on Saturday. But when I'm thinking about it, it's like they might just platoon it. I wonder if Tyler Boyd goes down, hopefully not long or at all, but hypothetically, if it happens, do they just go Charlie Jones on plays they want both their guys outside, or do they just kind of go, okay, well, we've put T there this offseason and Jamar can work well from there, so we're just going to use one of those guys in the slot, and then we can keep Irwin outside. Or, I mean, once in a while, maybe you just do throw Yoshi outside because he's got the speed to really threaten a defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And here's the thing, Brian Callahan, this offense, everybody involved, Troy Walters, the possibilities are really endless with the wide receiver room and what we could really see and some of the differences, along regular season. But with Trent Irwin, one of my favorite plays, and I don't know if we talk about it enough, but it was the Cleveland game, the Cleveland touchdown. I loved it. It was one of my favorites from him. And I know it wasn't like huge, like, oh, that's because the Trent Irwin was able to do it, but it's just one of my favorite moments. And I feel like we don't talk about it enough.
He got a couple back shoulders that were pretty difficult. For a while, the Patriots game, I know he dropped the one touchdown, but he did catch one, and he was getting in the end zone, able to get a target for touchdowns. I just remember looking back and just kind of thinking, because I rewatched a lot of the season. I didn't get past week 13. That's where I did not give myself enough time. But watching back, I was like, man, Trent Irwin stepped up. I think that fans aren't treating him with enough respect, although it's kind of getting there now. You see Charlie Jones kind of struggle against 2s and 3s in one game, and you just kind of go, oh, yeah, right. Rookies, they take time. They don't just step onto the field as good as they were in college.
You have to wonder, though, last year, because I remember our pods right before the trade deadline. There were people out there just hammering, get a guy, trade this pick for this.
You remember the DJ Moore talk, the Jerry Jeudy talk? It's like, guys, Jamar Chase is missing 4, maybe 5 games. He's not done for his career.
And they were able to go 3-4 during that time period, which is
3-1. You mean
3-1. I said 4, but I had it in my head 3-1. Sorry, guys, he didn't miss 7 games. He didn't miss 7 games. 3-1.
They were able to have a losing record during that stretch.
Goodness, my brain's over preseason. But no, it's crazy to think about, because the first game we saw was the Cleveland game, and it's like, oh no, what's
that this? Is some of the disaster feel came from. It's like, no,
Jamar Chase.
What I always thought was this stretch is going to test Burrow and Taylor. Because you no longer can just line up and go, we've got the best dudes on the field. Yep. And they passed with flying colors. I mean, that was like the statement game of give Joe Burrow, or statement stretch, because they lost the first one, then they adjusted and rattled off those 3 in a row. That stretch, to me, felt like, okay, this is why you extend Taylor, and this is also why Burrow's going to get whatever he wants.
Yeah.
You can no longer just look at it and just go like, oh, he had the best wide receivers. We can't figure out. Jamar Chase missed time, and the offense was still fantastic. And it was also a stretch that I thought T. Higgins showed that he should get paid whatever he wants, but that's we're not there yet. That one's not for sure happening.
Yeah, kind of just one more thing about Trent Irwin, and then we'll move on. But I do feel like last year, getting those moments where he had to step up and be a starter when Jamar Chase was out is extremely helpful and benefits this season too, with him on the roster. Because I think he would succeed on a lot of other NFL teams as an NFL quarterback. Obviously, having Joe Burrow is very nice for Trent Irwin, but I think that's why this guy makes the roster. I think the coaching staff believes in him. You hear Brian Callahan talk about him, Zach Taylor. He has to have all the confidence in the world with what he was able to do last year and staying on this roster. And I agree with you. I think it's extremely important you have Trent Irwin out there as your wide receiver number 4. And look, the luxury of this is you get Yoshi and Charlie Jones who get to learn their rookie year. Get some reps out there. I'm not going to say you're sidelining them their rookie year, but they don't have to be the Tyler Boyd. They don't have to be Jamar Chase. They don't have to be T. Higgins in their rookie season like all of those wide receivers had to do. And I think that's good news for your wide receiver room. And they have one of the best coaches on the roster in Troy Walters. So I'm excited about that.
Do you remember it wasn't Trent Irwin who started against the Browns and played most of that game?
Trent Taylor?
No, it was Michael Thomas. And then he dropped that ball over the middle, got benched. So if you think about it, Trent Irwin as the starter they went 3-0 with him. They didn't even
so wild. That nightmare of a Monday Night Football game, Mike Thomas was still on the roster?
Yeah, he had a key drop on a third down.
How did I not remember? I thought they cut him a while.
It was after that game. There was another play that Burrow, I think he threw an interception, and you could look at it. I looked at it, and you saw the ball go. You're like, Mike Thomas could have played defensive back here and like broke this up, but he didn't.
I thought first that game was an absolute nightmare that I legit thought they cut Mike Thomas before that, even though that was early on in the season because they went on to win 10 games in a row. But it's still one of those moments where Mike Thomas had no. Here's my Mike Thomas memory from last year. It's a Steelers game, the Bengals Steelers opener.
Oh yeah, he dropped that ball there too, man.
I thought Joe Burrow will never throw that guy the ball ever again because of that moment. And I'm like, it's over. No, you lose his trust. But, a guy we're not talking enough about just kind of in the wide receiver room. But when it comes to cuts, I won't be surprised if Trent Taylor isn't on the roster next week.
Yeah, he's been the one that I think you can point to as it feels like his job is not secure at all.
Yeah. There's just too many bodies. I mean, you have too many wide receivers that choose from, and he's just the odd man out, and that's okay.
Some people tried to point it as Irwin possibly, and I was like, that's not happening, guys. Like, he's the most NFL ready.
Yeah, and I feel good with Trent Irwin on the roster. If you would have told me that going into 2022, I would have said, "Oh, really? Okay, all right, let's see how that works out." I don't know if I would have had the confidence, but no, exciting stuff. Let's move on to another question. How can the Bengals offense be more explosive?
My idea has consistently been in the passing game. They have to find a way to make their shotgun play action game more effective. I think there's room for improvement there. I think that can come from also another year of marrying the two together instead of trying to just put it together after the mini bye after the Thursday night game. Just put together like we need to do all shotgun now. I have some faith in that. I think they've shown some stuff in the preseason that's interesting. Not a ton of play action stuff, but like the runs they're getting to a lot. Those are interesting for me. I also think that hopefully Joe Mixon is healthier, although he's never been a huge explosive guy. He's mostly been a churn out yards type of player. Even if you think of that Panthers game, there were 2 explosive plays that I can remember: the screen and then the toss to the right, or maybe the counter play. So it might have been 3, but even then, like, I don't know. It wasn't a ton of like, whoa, there he goes for 60 yards. It's just consistently getting 5-10 yard gains, which is awesome. Those are your doubles and sometimes even a triple, but he's rarely hitting the home run. Can Chase Brown, Trevion Williams, Chris Evans, whoever just be a spark plug at running back for some of these handoffs, make the one defender that's left miss. And it could be Joe Mixon too. Can he make that guy miss and turn out huge explosive plays? Because they really lacked explosive plays in the run game, and they did in the pass game as well. But I think that if you could find a way to get explosive plays in the run game, it'll lead to explosive plays in the pass game, partially because you might marry it a little bit better with your play action concepts and be able to take your shots down the field. Hopefully, also, the last part of this would be the addition of Orlando Brown might give you 2 tackles who can hold up for 3.5 seconds to work something that's not just a go ball down the field.
I'm going to hit on something because you bring up Orlando Brown Jr., and this wasn't a question, but it was actually in the media over the last couple of days. James Rapine interviewed him over on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, and I think friend of the show, both. Orlando Brown Jr., I have a feeling Orlando Brown Jr. will be on the show before the end of the season. Wow. He just will. It's one of his favorites. A big social media guy. I'm sure he would love to join the pod. But listening to him with James, I thought there was something that he said in there that's telling. And we've kind of talked about with some of these free agents wanting to come and play with Joe Burrow. You look at Logan Wilson, you look at Jermaine Pratt, kind of, I would say, taking a little bit less than what they would have been offered on another team. And I think that's extremely important. Everybody should get their worth, but I thought that was a pretty good deal for those 2 linebackers getting their extensions. But overall, Orlando Brown Jr. was getting higher offers, and he chose to come to Cincinnati. It felt like it was the right team and just right place for him. And I thought that was really telling. One thing that I've really noticed about Orlando Brown Jr., and yes, when you get paid, you're going to be pretty happy. You're going to embrace it. He seems like a really happy-go-lucky guy, but he has embraced the city since day one. He's there. He's in front of the camera. He's a big part of the team.
Going to all the Reds games.
Yeah, big, huge Reds fan. And we absolutely we love to see it. And I hope it works out for Joe Burrow, because that's the most important thing, that this guy is a legit left tackle for the next few years and hopefully even longer than that. And he just thrives in that role, because I know how badly he just wanted to be the left tackle and in his NFL career. But overall, I just think that this could be a really fun story if it works out with Orlando Brown Jr. on this offensive line and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I fully agree. He had the biggest offer that I think he got was from Kansas City, but then they didn't do it after they won the Super Bowl for whatever reason, and they've got that whole thing going on. But yeah, it's cool if he took a smaller offer to come to Cincinnati. When he signed, I remember my reaction was, wow, that's way less than I thought he was going to get, because like the Kansas City offer, I think, was $20-something million a year, and they got him for under 20 after the next year, where he, again, I think he was a Pro Bowler. Obviously didn't go because the Super Bowl, but I think he was picked as a Pro Bowler. Yeah, the Jets offered more. Man, is there a bigger Joe Burrow pool than New York City for some people? Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati is the next New York City. It really is.
People are saying.
They're saying. I've been hearing it on the streets. But no, really cool to see. And thank you, Orlando Brown, for taking less to come to Cincinnati. We'll move on to our next mailbag question over there on the social media. Been seeing this a little bit. Speaking of the running back room, should the Bengals sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I'm not going to be that excited. I don't think he's a future starting running back. At best, in my opinion, he's going to be a Pirine type, and I don't know if he can pass. That isn't a bad thing. But I don't know if he can pass block like that. He's slow. He runs a 4.6, and it looks like it on the field. He hasn't made too many guys miss in the NFL, even though he was pretty good at that in college. I know Bengals fans are excited because you think about the 2019 LSU. This to me would be a little bit of like the Thad Moss stuff. It's like Ricky's talking about Thaddeus Moss. I know this guy was a first round pick, whatever else. I haven't seen an NFL game from him that makes me go, you buy this guy low and he's going to be the future of this Bengals backfield. I don't see it. I don't know. I think at best you're going to get a guy in a committee that, he can do the passing game work, do the dirty stuff. But hey, who knows? Maybe maybe he's better in Cincinnati than he was in Kansas City. I also think Andy Reid I feel like any running back with talent under Andy Reid has been awesome. So
Yeah.
it slows me down even more. I'm like, can I name a running back that left Andy Reid and then had a better career?
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I know it's fun to play that game, and I think
Yeah.
there are people in a world. There are people in a world that think that Justin Jefferson will end up coming to Cincinnati and playing with Joe Burrow at some point. They think that that 2019 LSU team is all going to reunite back in Cincinnati. And hey, look, I'm all about being optimistic and reliving what that 2019 LSU team is. But you got Joe Burrow, you got Jamar Chase here, and that is exciting stuff. And I think that it's okay that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe he's with Kansas City, maybe he's not. Maybe he's available when there's cut down day, but I don't even know. I don't even know what the running back room looks like for RB2 and RB3 for Kansas City.
Well, RB2, RB3. I think Alaire is supposed to be RB3. RB2, I think, is McKinnon. He seemed to
Yeah.
steal that role from him last year because the 32-year-old running back is more explosive in the passing game.
Yeah, to be determined on what that looks like. And look, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say this when it comes to running backs. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals pick up someone when all the cuts
Mm-hmm.
happen next week.
And I wouldn't even be shocked if it's Alaire. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it to me that would almost feel like Burrow's kind of like, how Rodgers takes Randall Cobb everywhere he goes. It would kind of feel a little bit like that, where he's like, "Hey, give me my guy Clyde," and they just
Yeah,
go like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, back of the roster, hang out with them, whatever you need."
relive 2019 LSU. Hey, I'm fine with it. And look, maybe it resets his NFL career and he has some success
Yeah,
here. Nobody's
that's
asking
what I
him.
would hope for.
Nobody's asking him to be running back number one, and maybe that does change. So, all right, I'm on the train. Bring Clyde here. Let's see what happens next week when it comes to cut down day. Moving on to another mailbag question. Thank you again for sending those over on Twitter. Who on the offensive line would be poached if they didn't survive cut down day?
Carmen, I think there's probably somebody out there who would at least do a waiver pickup, or I don't think you'd be able to get him back on the practice squad. Somebody would offer
No.
something too high pedigree. Other than that, I wonder if you could get Adeniji onto the practice squad if he gets cut. I feel like Smith you could. I don't think people are clamoring for Deontay Smith. I mean, he was a fourth round pick, so it wasn't a late day three. It's an early day three, but it was a day three pick. Adeniji also a late day three pick, but he has played in giant games. Some people care about that.
Yeah.
Also just saw the Eagles cut, then re-sign Fred Johnson. It's like, oh, Bengals legend, Super Bowl starter.
So
Sure.
wild. That's so
Yeah.
wild that he was a starter in the Super Bowl.
We'll see what happens. I don't think any of the interior backups won't make it to a practice squad. Ben Brown, Trey Hill, Max Sharping. Max Sharping would be the one, I guess. Wait,
Yeah.
does he even hit? Does he even hit waiver wire though? Because
I think they're going to keep him.
I think so too. But like, say he blows his performance on Saturday, and Trey Hill looks dominant, and they just decide, let's go Trey Hill, and we don't need to worry about Sharping. If they cut him, I feel like that's one because he's been in the league a while. I'm not sure if he goes to waivers or not.
Yeah. It's, I hope, I just don't want to watch that ever again in a really important playoff game. I really don't. I know what the Bills game looked like, and congrats to them to be able to step up when the starters are down, but I don't want to see that again. So hopefully wishing the best of health to the offensive line and everybody stays healthy and you just keep your starters out there and we don't have to talk about Hakeem Adeniji. Jackson Carman, I still feel like he's on the roster. I do think if they cut him, he would be on another roster. Maybe
Yeah.
another offensive line coach could feel like, hey, we can do something with him. He could be a part of our offensive line, or maybe he's a swing tackle on another team. So I just think they give him one more shot on the team. Not to say that he's going to make a huge difference or anything like that, but just one more year in Cincinnati, and that'll probably be Jackson Carman's story. But any more to add to that?
Um, no, not really. In my mind, I was like, yeah, there's. It's about it. There's not a lot of. There's not a ton of like crazy. I mean, like Lyle Collins wouldn't be back if he got cut. He would probably go somewhere, but they're not going to cut him
Oh,
because he's not healthy. And also, it's kind of hard for Bengals fans to understand this right now. You're not sellers. You're not supposed to be selling off all your depth and everything. supposed to keep that right now, because the team that can withstand injuries and, sort of like make it to the Super Bowl is almost as much a testament to your depth and health than it is your talent.
I mean, you can look at the Super Bowl year for them. You can look at last year and the game away from the Super Bowl, that if they had that one healthy player in a position, they either have one Lombardi or two Lombardis. I mean, we don't know what that looks like, or at least another trip to the Super Bowl. So, health is extremely important, and very important positions on the offensive line to have that health. I'm looking forward to Lyle Collins taking his time. I think that this is such a benefit to this team that you aren't rushing him back, and he could take his time to get fully healthy, and he's not rushed back out there. And that is great news for Lyle Collins and the depth that they could see from him out there on the offensive line. And hopefully Jonah works at right tackle, so you don't even have to worry about that. But I'm still all about having Lyle out there if they can put him out there and he's healthy, and he's Lyle from the Dallas Cowboys. We'll go
and
to
he's a weapon as an extra offensive lineman. But let's move on.
That would be huge. Next question. Biggest worries on offense and defense?
Well, I no longer think right tackle is one of my biggest worries, and maybe that's putting too much stock into preseason practice tape from Jonah Williams, but I think he looks fine. I think my biggest worry on offense is such a niche thing, but the pass protection running back. I don't know. I don't know anything, and Burrow wasn't blitzed much last year. But is that all because they don't want to blitz Burrow, or is there a little bit of like, I'm not sending my linebacker to go get clamped up by Samaje Perine? Like, this guy's smart and he's strong and he's good technically. Like, it's not working, so we're not going to do it. So I worry a little bit about that. On the defensive side, it's what everybody talks about. You're worried about the secondary communication, especially the safety duo back there. I guess there's a little bit of worry that nobody takes that step and your pass rush is still super reliant on Trey Hendrickson. But I think my biggest worry would be the safety duo back there, even with good reviews. Just early on, at least, I think they're going to have to work to get their communication.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to look at the safety room and say it might take a minute. Look, Dax Hill early on in that preseason game was really exciting, but I want to see it in a regular season game, him in his natural position and what that looks like. I still am excited about him. I think he's going to be a lot of fun and be worth the first round pick. You got Nick Scott out there too. It's just the communication and chemistry. It almost reminds you of an offensive line working together. You just need those in-game reps in a regular season game and what difference that's going to make. You bring up the pass rush. And for all the bodies you have out there, the rotation, the excitement, some of the younger guys, I just want it to work out. I really do. I want them to put pressure on the quarterback and just say, like, look, at the other AFC North teams, when you go against guys like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, I just want it to be a fearful defensive line, just putting pressure on opposing teams' quarterbacks. And maybe you putting pressure on the quarterback, you're getting a little bit of relief to the younger guys in your secondary. So that's one thing that I'm going to be looking at. It's so easy, honestly, to point to the offensive line, but I agree with you. Maybe I am just a little too optimistic about Jonah Williams at right tackle and the training camp reps that we've seen out there. But I feel pretty good, if everybody can stay healthy, that this is the best offensive line that Joe Burrow's had since he's been in Cincinnati.
Needs to be. When you say that, though, I said that so much last year. And then Lyle Collins wasn't as good as we thought he would be. So,
well, you know what? It was okay. It was okay for what Joe. And maybe Joe hides a lot of the blemishes, but it
also wasn't okay the first 4 weeks.
Well, no, not the first 4 weeks, because we were on here talking about what's going on with this offensive line.
And I've already seen people start going with the Frank Pollock questions again. It's like, man, he's not Bill Callahan, but if you're gonna fire every offensive line coach you have until you can find Bill Callahan, give up. That's hard to do. You had your shot. You had the shot at the man, Bill Callahan himself, and they turned him down for Jim Turner. So,
that was a learning experience for Zach Taylor. When Zach Taylor goes and wins a bunch of Super Bowls, he's going to have a 30 for 30, and he's going to talk about the Jim Turner year and everything that happened.
2 years.
Cordy Glenn, everything. It's going to be the 2 years. Wasn't that when Clint Mullen?
Didn't Marvin trade for Cordy? I think Cordy was a Marvin guy at first. I thought
Cordy was here for at least one part of Joe, or for one part.
I think he was here 2 years.
For Zach Taylor.
I think he was here Zach Taylor's first year.
It never really worked out. He was kind of here, but he was. And it's just, I want Zach Taylor. I hope they win tons and tons of Super Bowls and championships, but he sits down and says, you want to talk about the 2019 year? Let's talk about the 2019 year and everything that
It'll be the
happened.
first 10 minutes of a documentary. If
Yeah,
this team can win
moving
multiple
on,
Super Bowls,
moving on.
if they can't,
And then, I mean, just the story of that 2019 to 2023 to say, look, I know I want this team to win championships. I want them to win a Super Bowl. And I do feel like they have the talent, and you have Joe Burrow, who's going to change this franchise, and he has changed this franchise for the better. But it's absolutely insane to think about the 2019 and then even 2020 when Joe Burrow was injured his rookie year, to say the next year you go to a Super Bowl, the next year you're a game away from another Super Bowl, being that close to Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow having these playoff wins. And it's just it has me excited for the season, because you have a lot of the roster returning, you have the coaching staff out there, and I don't think a lot of teams at that type of level on top of the AFC and the NFC can say, look at all the coaching assistants that we still have on this roster. And I think a lot of these assistants are a huge part of this team, and even defensive coordinator and Brian Callahan on the offensive coordinator side too. So
anyway, that question was the biggest worry on offense and defense.
Do you love how I just kind of went and like took it a whole nother place? Sorry. But yes, my biggest worry on offense is I guess I could say the running back room too. It's such an easy one to say. And it's not about Joe Mixon. It's just
I'm big fantasy people. I'm big on Joe Mixon this year.
What do you think about that number? You see the number? I think they said it was either 750 for Joe this year, the over-under in Vegas.
750 rushing yards?
I want to say it was 750 or 850.
I would pound the over on either one of those.
850?
I would go over. 900, I think, is where I would start to get a little worried. But yeah, like 850.
Wrong. They can let me know, but I want to say it was like 850 in Vegas.
Man. No, well, the real reason I'm bigger on him this year is just he got so much passing game work last year because of the way defenses are playing, and now he's probably gonna get more this year. But we need to hit more people's questions.
We do, and we're going to be wrapping up our podcast soon. But one more question, we'll get to it because we always lie and say we're going to get to more, and I keep talking. What do you want to see from the offense?
I kind of hit on this with the explosive plays. I want to see better play action from the shotgun. I don't really care about going under center. Joe Burrow's not comfortable with it, then fine. Let's find a way to work around it. And let's develop a pass game with a play action that actually threatens defenses from the shotgun.
I agree. It works for them. Keep doing it. You don't have to just do what works. Do what works for the Cincinnati Bengals. There was actually a really good piece. Kevin Clark over on The Ringer. He always has good stuff. Friend of the show. Had a great piece on Joe Burrow. Did you read it?
Yeah. It was good. It was really good. I love the one part. It was about how the team puts the offense has a play call sheet that's extra large, and it's just like a whole thing against a bunch of different coverages because teams play the Bengals different than they do. I don't know, the Steelers offense or, just a generic offense, they just run their scheme, but then they play against the Bengals and they go like, we got to play Tampa or we got to play, all these different coverages and just try to, we're going for the big dog right now. And they took a Peyton Manning thing, which was bring the extra long play sheet and then just build your game plan after you see what they're doing. So like, it looks like it's going to be a Tampa game was what Brian said in the interviews. Like, looks like it's Tampa game. What were your three favorite concepts against that, Joe? And he goes, bam, bam, bam. And then they run them. And he's like, yeah, that went well.
It's so wild to look back just on that 10-game streak. And honestly, when the offense started to change, you could even kind of point to the second half of the Ravens game going forward. It was just a whole different offense. Zach Taylor raised his hand and was like, look, we have to change something. And people were calling. I mean, I think we talked about it. Was Zach Taylor calling plays? What the future of 20?
Oh yeah.
It was getting late early on in the season, and we were like, "Well, wait a minute, this isn't really going well." And they changed things, and that was awesome. And I'm just excited what they're going to look like on the offensive side of the ball in 2023. I know we're kind of running a little over on time, but preseason game number 3 is going to be wrapping up on Saturday. What are you going to have on all Bengals?
Probably something on preseason game 3.
I know I walked right into that one.
And then next week, though, I'm really hoping, I still haven't gotten it yet, but I'm trying to get the Jim Schwartz film so that I can do a preview about Jim Schwartz defense, this new defense that the Browns might employ week 1, and put that out. That's what I'm more excited for, but I am going to do preseason content as well.
Yeah, next week will be kind of fun because we can do, I mean, not this part for players. I hate saying it's going to be fun to talk about roster cuts. That part won't be fun, but talking about the roster, of what the roster will look like. We have a better feel of what it's going to look like. And it's never over and final when the cut day happens, because the Bengals might pick up another player from another team if they are cut. So we'll kind of talk about what that looks like when it comes to the prediction of the roster for a lot of position groups. And then we'll get prediction time, how we feel like the shape of the AFC North is going to come out. One of the best divisions in football. Some would say the best. I know the AFC East is competing for that too, but overall, I think this is, you can look at about 2 to 3 teams in the North and say, hey, they could be playoff teams. And that'll be fun to talk about when it comes to expectations, predictions, and just the AFC overall when we get into almost 2 weeks before the big game in Cleveland. I can't wait to get that Cleveland game over with.
Oh my God. No, I'm excited to see it.
Just get it over with. I just get them over with in Cleveland, and then you move on. You come back home. You play Baltimore at home, and it doesn't get easy. It doesn't get easier for them. So it'll be fun to look at. But yeah, that's everything we have right now on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. I'm excited that preseason is almost in the books, and we can talk about real football. Hopefully, the return of Joe Burrow. Maybe some money talk next week or the next few weeks when it comes to some of the players before they hit the plane to Cleveland. Make sure you're following along. Bengals_Sands. You can follow me at LNDS Patterson. Thank you for listening to It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati.